Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and we've been following the PALWORLD versus Nintendo saga for a little bit now, and thankfully people that are a lot smarter than me have given us quite a lot of clarity as far as what Nintendo is doing. To give you guys the rundown immediately, just real quick, I think most of us, when we thought about the legality issues with PALWORLD, it always circled back to the Mon designs. For me, at least, because at a surface level, when you're just looking at the two games, what I personally look at as far as being, I don't know, copying, if you want to say, or taking inspiration from, if you want to put it lightly, is the design choices of the Mons. It is not the gameplay, it is very much the Mon choices. However, the exact lawsuit that Nintendo filed against Pocketpair was a patent infringement lawsuit. What patents do Nintendo have, as a lot of you guys explained to me? Now, this has not been given us direct clarity from Nintendo. However, as far as patent infringement goes, that is in regards to gameplay. That's a little bit alarming given that PALWORLD has starkly different gameplay than Pokemon, and usually, and especially when talking about the game, people generally circled back to that element regarding why PALWORLD couldn't be sued. It was because of the stark contrast in gameplay. The Mons are what they are, you really can't copyright them, and they're different enough, and for example, something like Anubis, while it does look like Lucario, also looks like Anubis, so, you know, what are you gonna do there? However, this is more of an indicator, as a lot of people have pointed out. Look, this is not what I have come to the conclusion of. This was explained to me, and now I'm like, wow, Nintendo is actually playing incredibly dirty here, and I guess that is just the way the cookie crumbles in terms of the business world, and Nintendo, in this case, yes, they are attacking PALWORLD for patent infringements in regards to gameplay. You might be asking, what patents do Nintendo have, and what is PALWORLD copying from what Nintendo owns? Well, there's things like using the ball to catch pals, and I guess that is a direct correlation and a direct copy, I guess you could say, of what Pokemon does with their Pokeballs. Also, there's a patent for flying mounts. Let's just be frank here, Nintendo has a lot of patents for gameplay mechanics that have been utilized in other games. You might be asking, why didn't Nintendo go after those games? A Monster Hunter Stories, a Dragon Quest Monsters, a lot of these Mon collecting games that clearly have a lot of inspiration from at least gameplay fundamentals that Nintendo has these patents on. Flying mounts, I mean, flying mounts have been around forever. Nintendo apparently has a patent on that. It's because those games weren't deemed to be a direct competitor. Nintendo isn't gonna go after something that they don't deem a threat. Monster Hunter Stories, all these other games with flying mounts aren't direct competitors. However, in the case of PALWORLD, this is a case where they are levying these patents that they have, at least from what I am understanding, and from my thought process, this is playing dirty. You have these patents for gameplay mechanics, and this is going to set an incredibly alarming precedent for games going forward. If you're talking about now games can be restricted on the basis of these patents that other companies own, and you're facing the threat of being sued, yes, I get why Nintendo is doing it. They don't give a damn about these gameplay patents. I can assure you that. What do they care about? They view PALWORLD as a threat in terms of the Mon designs. That's what they're going after. Even if the lawsuit doesn't say that, why is this game being targeted and all these other games aren't being targeted? Because PALWORLD is actually seen as a threat. And instead of this being a case for Nintendo to actually, you know, maybe improve Pokemon, maybe this being a shot in the arm, a kick in the butt, so to speak, and that's what I had been calling for PALWORLD to be. Screw actually, you know, taking this game down or anything, or making Pocketpair, an indie company's life, a living hell. How about we actually improve your game? And at the end of it, Pokemon is an absolute juggernaut. PALWORLD at this point has fallen to 20,000 concurrent players, and it just seems like you're frothing at the mouth to pick the bones about all this. And also, not to mention, Nintendo filed a patent, I believe, back in May of this year, and it got approved in August. And now they're going after PALWORLD after that patent got approved. It seems like they were getting their ducks in order, and they wanted to go after PALWORLD for a while, and I imagine everything came together, and now they're going after him now. But it's also, from an optics standpoint, it just looks incredibly bad from my vantage point. However, Nintendo has an absolute army of diehards, and I have been shocked, to be honest. My PALWORLD videos have certainly been getting a different audience than my core audience. I think my core audience understands that. Why would you side with Nintendo here? If you are the consumer, even if you love Pokemon, if there's something that can potentially actually give them a kick in the butt to improve Pokemon, why would you want them to go after that this way? You know how you would want them to go after it, even though you don't have to go after it at all? Pokemon can exist in its own universe, and it's gonna sell not billions, but millions of copies every time out. By just releasing Pokemon games. But why would you want an alternative, another option, if you even view it as that? Because PALWORLD from a gameplay standpoint is so different, but why would you want an alternative to be shut down? It is not going to affect Pokemon one iota. It is still going to sell well. The absolute best case scenario is that it actually kicks Nintendo in the butt to look at different avenues to improve Pokemon and maybe restructure it from a gameplay standpoint. But they don't even need to do that. They can do whatever they want. Their IPs are so big, and this, in my opinion, is just Nintendo playing dirty for the sake of playing dirty. And why would you want that? Nintendo is a conglomerate, a juggernaut. They are a behemoth of an entity, and you're talking about Pocketpair, which I can't even believe. I've had multiple people come to me and say, well, good thing they sold a lot of copies of PALWORLD, because now they can afford these legal troubles and they can afford to fight back. Guys, PALWORLD sold very well, but the resources that PALWORLD offers, even selling that many millions of copies, is an absolute drop in the bucket compared to when you're fighting against Nintendo. PALWORLD being successful is great in a vacuum. Nintendo is a behemoth of an entity, and even for a game like PALWORLD succeeding as much as it does, it's not enough to fight against something like Nintendo. It's an unfortunate reality that they have to fight against, and it's also setting an awful precedent for gaming in the future. Now, I don't think Nintendo is going to go after every game, obviously, because as we've seen in the past, there are other games that from a gameplay standpoint, they could have filed a lawsuit against in this regard, but this is obviously Nintendo going after PALWORLD for reasons outside of what the lawsuit just illustrates. There's other elements to it, and I do believe that it's because they view PALWORLD as a threat. And even if the lawsuit, if you think it's moot, if Nintendo doesn't have a legal ground to stand on, we've seen legal battles before where a lot of the cases, it can be a big behemoth of an entity draining funds and draining resources from a smaller entity. I'm not here to say that PALWORLD or Pocketpair, excuse me, is this tiny indie company that only has a couple of fans working on it, much like look at what happened with Call of Duty. People trying to bring back Modern Warfare 2, Activision sends a cease and desist, immediately, boom, it's done. GG, no re as far as that's concerned. This isn't good for the consumer, and it's just wild, and I get it that Nintendo does have this army, this allegiance behind them, and Pokemon as well, but man, just think about it from a little bit of the bigger picture in terms of what this means for gaming as a whole, and it's not a good thing for Pokemon. It's a bad thing if the precedent is set that anything that becomes a viable threat, Nintendo has it in their back pocket, this trump card where we can just go after them. How is that a good thing? Competition in any market always makes the market better for the consumer. Having an allegiance towards a brand, an entity, a publisher, never a good thing, you guys. We see that in the console space, and the PlayStation Xbox wars. Having an allegiance to a brand is just so astronomically stupid. As far as you, the consumer, you should be having the interest of the consumer in mind, and this is ultimately a bad thing for the gaming world and a bad thing for the consumer. Worst case scenario, this lawsuit gets wild and they throw in the towel and PALWORLD gets delisted. I don't think it's going to get that far, but that's just a game being pulled from the market. That's worst case scenario for the consumer. Games, all kinds of games should exist. While I thought Concord was tossing money into a pit and I thought it was terrible for Sony to go that route, I don't think the game shouldn't be allowed to exist, and Palworld's obviously entirely different. I think all games should at least be allowed to exist, and successful games like this that are going to make the industry better, you want that to be pulled? That is insanity to me, and I can't believe that people are there, and I've seen comments over and over again where people are cheering on Nintendo. That's insane to me, and Palworld's not even a game that is my cup of tea. If you guys know me, you know the survival, crafting, all that stuff, just not my cup of tea. The Pokemon style of point A to point B, having not a narrative, but a single player focus where there is an endpoint, that is way more up my alley, and even with that being said, I'm totally on the indie company's side, the company that's trying to make a new game and trying to make a name for themselves, and still in early access, and it's not a perfect game, but, and obviously it's not as much in the news cycles. I do think it's a little bit of Nintendo smelling blood in the water, getting that patent approved, and yeah, just not a good thing all around. The actual explanations that have been brought forth to me, because I had always assumed it would be related to the Mon designs, but Nintendo having this in their back pocket that they could just pull out whatever they want as far as lawsuits are concerned, awful, 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 and yeah, everybody should be rallying around Pocketpair, but we'll see what comes of this story, but that's going to do it for me. This is going to be an unfortunate story to cover over the next probably 6 months to a year, but it'll be very interesting to see how all of this develops, and hopefully for the majority of you guys, you understand why this would be so awful for gaming, and is already awful for gaming, and from a long-term outlook, why Nintendo winning this would be absolutely terrible, but that's going to do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.